Welcome to the ChargePoint podcast, brought to you by Flexecharge, your gateway to the future of EV charging. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of EV infrastructure, offering insights and perspectives from industry leaders, innovators, and the people at the forefront of deploying charging solutions and networks. Join us to explore the exciting developments that are accelerating our world towards sustainable mobility.
And welcome to a new episode of the ChargePoint podcast. I'm your host, Christophe from Flexecharge. And today we're diving into one of the fastest growing and most under-discussed threats in the charging ecosystem, cybersecurity. As EV adoption soars and charge points multiply across our streets, highways, and homes, so does the vulnerability of the digital infrastructure that powers them. What was once just a matter of grid load balancing and uptime is now a playground for cyber attackers. According to recent reports, attacks on EV charging infrastructure have increased by over 300% in the past year alone. Threat actors are targeting not just the charging station, but also the communication between electric vehicles, back-end systems, and grid operators. And let's be honest, a single compromised charger could become a gateway to massive grid disruption or data theft. That's why today's conversation couldn't be more timely or urgent. So joining me is the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of SaiFlow, a startup that's pioneering EV charging cybersecurity. SaiFlow's mission is clear: protect distributed energy resources and EV charging networks from the new wave of cyber risks. In this episode, we unpack why EV charging infrastructure is such an attractive target, how attackers infiltrate systems via open protocols like OCPP, and what charge point operators can do to stay resilient. Here's the punchline. Many of the very features that make EV charging infrastructure smart and scalable, like remote monitoring, plug-and-charge functionality, or dynamic pricing, are also exposing it to new vulnerabilities. As we'll hear from Or, building secure charging networks isn't just an IT problem anymore. It's an operational, regulatory, and reputational issue for every CPO in the field. So plug in and power up. This is an episode you don't want to miss. And let's dive into the first conversation on this episode dedicated to cybersecurity within EV charging with our first guest. Welcome, Or Schwarz from SaiFlow. Can you please introduce yourself and give us your origin story, so to speak, and go back as far as you want to present yourself and what you do today?
Absolutely. And so, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I think it's really valuable for the industry to collaborate and have these joint opportunities. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
And I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Or Schwarz. I'm the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of SaiFlow. My background is in cybersecurity and cryptography, specifically where physical infrastructure meets digital networks. I started my career in more traditional network security roles in the IT and cloud space, but I quickly realized that critical infrastructures like energy grids and EV charging networks were becoming heavily connected and needed much more tailored protection. Mm-hmm. And this is where SaiFlow was born. From this realization, we saw the growing risks in the EV charging infrastructure and wanted to build a platform that truly understands both the network and the energy side.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so it's really a podcast about technology and entrepreneurship and business and you could say technology trends. So I'm really always interested in hearing, especially when you have a co-founder in the hot seat. So how did SaiFlow emerge as an idea and as a project and as a company eventually?
Yeah. So we started quite naturally looking at spaces that other cybersecurity experts and other cybersecurity companies didn't look, and we saw this emerging EV charging infrastructure, and we saw immediately that there is a lack of cybersecurity, or at least a lack of standardizations, mm-hmm. and we thought we can really contribute from our experience. and we saw an opportunity there.
Great. Yeah. And were you working together with your co-founders, or how did it start? Or were you friends or connections or?
Yeah, so we all were actually coming from the same background. In Israel is mainly the cybersecurity units or divisions in the public sector. And we all met there and started actually working on the idea after it.
All right, great. So let's paint a bit the picture of the industry and then the landscape, or really why we're talking about cybersecurity. So what are the biggest cybersecurity risks, including frauds, facing EV charging networks today? Can you give us some concrete example, please, also?
Yes. So the cybersecurity risks for EV charging networks come from two main angles. Mm-hmm. So the first one is cyberattacks that really targets the network itself, like remote access exploitations, ransomware, or denial of charge attack that can take the chargers or the network offline. Mm-hmm. And the second angle, as you mentioned, are more fraudulent activities or behavior. For example, energy theft, where attackers actually going to manipulate the chargers or the network or even the billing systems to get free charging sessions, or even to steal user data or energy. And if we look at real-world examples for both cases, so we like to often highlight the example of attackers that are using spoofed driver ID tags, for example, RFID cards. Mm-hmm. They do it by cloning or generating just fake IDs based on known or leaked identifiers. Mm-hmm. And once they use it, they actually can authenticate themselves to the charger. And once it is accepted by the charging station, the attackers can impersonate legitimate users, activate charging sessions, and cause direct financial losses without being billed properly. This kind of frauds is actually difficult to detect, and it undermines both the revenue and trust in the network. So this is an example for fraudulent activity, mm-hmm. And we see another rising threat, which comes from the known vulnerabilities space. Mm-hmm. We see more and more publications on known vulnerabilities in charging stations. That actually are found by various security researchers and companies. For example, we saw attackers that exploited a known issue in an unsecure Bluetooth communication, and actually they disabled the chargers and were able to take full control over it. So such attacks can result in mass outage, of course, harming the service availability, and they can pose a serious risk even to the grid stability itself.
Okay. Thank you for a thorough description of the current risks. And so maybe a bit of an easy question and obvious, but why should CPO prioritize cybersecurity in their operations?
Because we believe that cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue. It's a business risk. Cyber attack can cause downtime, revenue loss. They can also cause regulatory fines, and of course have some reputational damage as well. EV drivers are expected reliability and safety from the network. Mm-hmm. If you can't guarantee that, you are at risk of losing their trust. And once this is gone, it's very hard to win it back. Right. Operators who invest in cybersecurity today will also be better positioned to comply with the common regulations, scale their network safely, and really differentiate themselves in a competitive market.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we can easily transpose what we know from IT security and services that are compromised. Yeah, for sure, you're right. I think the reputation and when stories leak out, it's definitely damaging, and you can spend a lot of time building your brand and great experience. If you get one attack, I guess that really sets you back. Yeah, that definitely. So if we look a bit more technically on the EV chargers themselves, right? So which are connected IoT devices. So can you explain a bit like how vulnerable are they to cyber attacks?
They are very vulnerable, just like any other IoT device, but with much higher stakes. So chargers often have limited built-in security. Some of them also have an ecosystem patching mechanism. And actually, many of them rely on open communication protocols like the OCPP, that if you misconfigure them, can expose the charging stations to a lot of different threats. And attackers see them as easy entry points to the larger energy system or even to the corporate network. And what makes them even more exposed than other IoT devices is that EV chargers are stranded assets. They are deployed in public, they are often unattended, and they must interact with other IoT devices that are actually vehicles. Yeah. So they must interact with the every vehicle, actually. And of course, this adds a lot of risks and a lot of layers to the attack surface. So if one of the sides is compromised, it could be leveraged to pivot into the charging network itself, or even to further the attack into the backend system and to even the connected grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. When you think about it, chargers are extremely stranded assets, as you described. They're vulnerable. They are connected devices, unattended. Yeah, you can really picture it. Any parking lots, thousands of parking lots in the world where they are standing and ready to get connected. Good picture.
And to add to it, if you look on different IoT devices, such as a IP camera, for example, so an IP camera is not supposed to interact with other IoT devices by nature, and EV charger has to interact with every drive-by vehicle in a sense.
Correct. Yeah, the interface, it is by definition, it has to be open and ready to communicate with and interact with a lot of other entities. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that by definition makes it vulnerable. So if I don't know how much we can quantify that, but for a CPO, can we talk a bit about the financial impact of cyber attack threats? Maybe share some anonymized cases. That would be quite exciting, quite interesting. You could have some maybe figures to give a size and estimation.
So I can't share figures or any confidential cases that we had to deal with, or at least our system detected. This is still under the NDA privileges.
Fair enough.
But I can say that the financial loss can be very serious. A direct impact of a cyber attacks includes, of course, the loss of revenue because of downtime. And you have to also compensate any affected user. And there is the cost of the forensic investigations and the remediation cost as well. So this can be a very large sum. But there are also hidden costs that are even, or at least often, bigger. So there's the brand damage, which is hard to quantify, but it's going to happen. And there are lots of partnerships because of that. And even some penalties if regulators find that security standards were not met properly. So in many cases, a single breach can wipe out months of business growth, especially if in an industry such as the EV charging, which is very competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And do you know of any cases with, I'm thinking of this kind of ransomware, where, some operators have been forced to pay some sum to, get access again to their database, their data, or their chargers, which were maybe completely hijacked, or anything similar to this, which we know from other industries?
So absolutely, this is one of the main threats that everybody is looking at. Eventually, there is a screen installed on the EV charger. And if you can hijack it, then you can present your ransomware message. So this is one angle. A second one is that you can even use it to send some propaganda. So we saw a public case in Russia where Ukrainian hackers actually deployed just a picture on the charger screen saying "Glory for Ukraine." So we see this happens throughout the world, and of course, as more and more cases are revealed, then we can see some more examples of that, and then to the attack paths and how they did it exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, this industry of cyber attacks just follows the money, right? So the more money flows into EV, and the more it will be a pressing issue. Absolutely, yeah. So let's maybe dive. Let's take a look at SaiFlow's, your solution. So how do you protect EV charging networks and energy infrastructure from cyber threats?
So we provide SaiFlow an end-to-end cybersecurity solution that is specifically designed for EV charging environments. We offer 4 main solutions to charge point operators. The first one is that we provide full network visibility. There is a saying that you can't protect what you can't see. So we help operators with discovery of each device. We discover every connection, and we provide visibility to the network activities to allow operators to understand what they need to protect. So this is the first pillar. The second one is that we also provide real-time threat detection. We detect and alert in real time on cyber attacks by continuously monitoring communication protocols like OCPP, Modbus, and IEC 61850. And we increase the list of supported protocols as every day goes by.
Right.
The third one, as we discussed about it a lot, is the fraud detection. So we know how to detect abnormal or suspicious activities, whether it will be user activities or energy activities that might indicate fraud. So we can alert on that, and then we can also protect against it. And the fourth and last is the security posture management. We help operators harden their network and actually prevent attacks before they happen. We do it by detecting any known vulnerability or any misconfiguration that might be present in the network.
All right. And can you give us an idea of just the timeline, from an agreement? How long time does it take you to deploy the most important part? And I guess there's maintenance afterwards, but just to put it in place, what do you see?
So we have a modular architecture, which is based on 3 components, and we try to adapt the solution for every network in order to protect the vast variety of charging sites. So you have charging sites that are just using mobile networks. We have charging sites that have internal networks as well. They have a local network. And we have charging sites that are more of an entire hub, where you have IP cameras and different IoT devices also connected to the same network of the EV charging infrastructure. And we have solutions to really protect all those different sites and architectures. And the deployment is quite relatively easy. We have our own OCPP gateway, or we can use different OCPP gateways if the user already have one.
Yeah, it could be the Flexecharge or the broker, right? For example.
Exactly, and even better if it is. And we can take all the OCPP data, and we really correlate the energy context into the network. So we're not just listening to the protocol itself, we're actually taking the energy telemetry as well into our account. And we also can deploy, depending on the network architecture, an agent that can scan all the different components and monitor even the local network itself. So in case you have an on-site broker, this can also come in hand to really help you secure also the internal components and the internal network as well. And the deployment process is relatively easy. You just need to direct it to the right URL. And if you are using already a broker, then it's easy as to integrate to any different SaaS-based system.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for this walkthrough there. I hope people in operation and IT took notes. And so let's talk about regulations. You mentioned earlier that you could get a fine from the regulators. So can you paint the picture about the existing cybersecurity regulations that CPO have to comply with?
Yes, of course. So the regulations vary across the different geographical locations. So in Europe, we have regulations like the NIS2. which specifically called out energy and the EV charging infrastructure and sectors as critical infrastructures. So they have to be attended to like any other critical infrastructure in Europe. And in the US, we have regulations that are being developed right now in both the federal and the state level. So states like California are already pushing cybersecurity requirements for public charging networks. And we see that many operators will soon be legally required to demonstrate cybersecurity best practices. And it's always better to be ready proactively than scramble reactively.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a good principle to apply. And so concretely, so what role does SaiFlow play in helping companies meet those security compliance standards?
The different compliance standards specify both technological aspect and organizational aspect. So SaiFlow really helps with the technological aspect, and we help operators by, first of all, mapping their security controls and see if they are meeting the regulatory requirements. For example, NIS2 require vulnerability management and firmware management and all the patching activities. And this is something that we can help operators with to, first of all, understand what they have in the network and then present that they are listing and detecting and managing their vulnerabilities and risk score. And the second is that we can also provide evidence and reports for the auditors. So in case of a breach, you'll have to present some audit logs or evidence that something happened. And of course, you have to alert on it as fast as possible. And this is what we can do with our real-time threat detection. And we can provide all the evidence to this threat with the alert. And the third one is that we can detect any non-compliant asset and to alert on any outdated or vulnerable firmware misconfiguration you have in the network, which relates to the first bullet, which is more on the risk and vulnerability management. So you have full visibility to this. And the last one is that we offer best practice guidance on how to secure your infrastructure. This is something that we truly believe in, that it's not just a single platform. We also provide you which other platforms might be handy for you, and we provide the best practices and guidance as well. So we basically make it much easier for charge point operators to show regulators and even the customers that they are taking security seriously and they're trying to meet the necessary standards.
Out of curiosity, do you see now maybe in bigger organizations as CPOs, like really somebody dedicated to security, or is it still a bit, where does the role land today?
Definitely. Bigger organizations are already have in place cybersecurity personnel, which are dedicated for their EV charging infrastructure. We see it in the public charging networks, the larger ones, and we also see it in private fleets as well. They see the EV charging infrastructure as a critical one for their organization and for their operations. So they already have dedicated teams for this. And we are going to see this really speed up in other organizations as well. So CISOs will have to take it quite seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. So if we look a bit into the future and as I mentioned, technology trends or evolution. So of course, obviously, with AI and automation growing, also in cybersecurity. So how do you see the future of EV charging security evolving? What is happening?
So now everybody is talking about AI. I just recently came back from the RSA conference, and AI was everywhere. I think everybody was talking about it. So regarding the AI, of course, I see AI-driven cybersecurity becoming a must in most organizations and in most cybersecurity tools and platforms. And especially in the EV charging space, where the networks are large, they are dynamic, and are really heavily distributed. So operators will need to automate their threat detections. They will need to automate policy enforcements and even automate incident response to really keep up with all the activities around this distributed network. And it's not just about the automation and speed when we are talking about AI. It's also about adding the context and about contextual intelligence. Mm-hmm. So cybersecurity systems will need to understand not just that something looks weird and there is an anomaly, but what it means in the context of the energy flow, in the context of the charging behavior and activities. So it's going to be a must. And at SaiFlow, we already invest in this future. We have a more smart and context-aware cybersecurity solution dedicated for the EV charging infrastructure.
All right. And in this context of, again, arm race with AI and automation and other tools, do you anticipate new threats emerging that either a bit similar to what we have today, or maybe also even completely new ones? I don't know. What do you guys make as scenarios?
So definitely, I believe that as more vehicles are going to plug into the grid, and as more energy assets like solar panels and wind turbines and battery storage solutions will get connected, the attack surface will grow as well, and even will grow massively. I think we'll see more complex threats targeting not just the chargers themselves, but also the entire energy ecosystem. We'll see attackers trying to manipulate energy flows, cause coordinated downtimes, or disrupt cities and services. We saw what can happen when such an event occur in Spain and Portugal just in this month. And we know how a nightmare scenario like this looks like. So cybersecurity for EV charging will no longer be optional. I believe it will be critical to national energy resilience in a sense, because they are connected assets, then they are connected to the grid as well.
Yes.
And that's why we believe the industry needs to build security from the ground up, not as an afterthought, and really involve context and understand the energy flows and energy activities of those systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I'm not too worried for your company being busy and having opportunities in the future. I think that was all for today. Thank you very much, all, for sharing your insight and shedding some light on this emerging and soon to become totally critical part of the industry, which definitely deserves more talk time. That's why I really wanted to have you on the show. Thank you for joining and sharing your insight, and wishing you and the team a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Welcome. And that wraps up this critical episode of the ChargePoint podcast. I've been really looking forward to having this first episode about cybersecurity. Today's conversation with Or Schwarz, the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of SaiFlow, brought to the forefront a message every stakeholder in the EV charging ecosystem needs to hear. Cybersecurity is no longer optional. Here are some of the key takeaways. Security must be embedded, not added on. As Or explained, protocols like OCPP and plug and charge are incredible for scalability, but without proper authentication, monitoring, and firmware control, they open doors for attackers. The attack surface is growing fast, from public chargers and energy management systems to back-end platforms and distributed energy resources. And with EVSE becoming part of national critical infrastructure, the stakes couldn't be higher. Third, SaiFlow's proactive defense strategy, which focuses on real-time threats detection and secure communication at the edge, is exactly the kind of innovation this space needs. It's a blueprint for how CPOs can move from reactive firefighting to strategic resilience. So if you are a CPO, a software integrator, or even an investor in this space, the message is clear. Build cybersecurity into your DNA before you scale. So thanks again to Or for the eye-opening discussion, and to all of you for plugging in. If you found value in this episode, and hey, even if you're here just for my voice, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Share this episode with a colleague and drop us a quick line with your thoughts and suggestions for guests. Every star, share, and comment helps us charge up even more great content. Until next time, stay powered, stay secure, and drive safely.